Yeah, you should. Yeah. So you just had a big vacation?
We did have actual incredible work conference in Anchorage. So we was able to go down and show. Yeah, there's actually some great Minnesota has some really interesting stuff.
Okay.
Really like the team, but yeah, it was good conference. But then we built up.
Was Doug Moon there, or is that there?
It was Jenny, and it kind of like a management.
Yeah.
Kind of overall lead.
They just.
Of course, yeah, there's coffee, water if anybody needs it.
It's still, yeah.
Well,
U.S. Chamber Foundation, we would like to welcome you all today and thank you for being here with us to discuss such an important topic to Michigan. Michigan is comprised of a unique workforce that begs for innovative solutions to childcare, but that may also mean Michigan's employees and employers have different needs than other states in order to solve our childcare crisis. So the stakeholders presenting today partnered with the U.S. Chamber Foundation as they have conducted in-depth analyses for other states to determine what their childcare reality looks like and how it is affecting children, parents, employers, and the state at large. To solve a Michigan problem, we need Michigan-specific data. The purpose behind this report was to identify the needs of Michigan's working parents and understand how gaps in Michigan's childcare has impacted the state's economy and business. So I'd now like to welcome Grand Rapids Chamber Board of Directors Jim Crowley, who is the owner and Chief Marketing Officer of the Highland Group.
Thanks, Leah, and welcome everyone today to the Grand Rapids Chamber. In partnership with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation, the Michigan Chamber, and Early Childhood Investment Corporation, we're excited to release a report titled Untapped Potential in Michigan. This report will help our business community and our policymakers better understand the impact of childcare on our economy and the unique needs of working parents. Childcare is a business issue, and the Grand Rapids Chamber has been working with its partners for years to advance policy change and promote key initiatives like TriShare. In 2019, the Grand Rapids Chamber was proud to create a statewide coalition that included business voices, child advocacy groups, legislators, key state leaders to develop the TriShare program. It launched as a pilot in 2021 and is now recognized for its innovative approach to the childcare problem and has been replicated in multiple locations across the U.S. Childcare is a business issue because it affects our current workforce, and high-quality early childhood care gives our kids the foundation they need to succeed. The report we're releasing today reinforces the need to address that issue. We can't forget that our childcare providers are also small businesses too, and so finding ways to support this industry so they can not only survive but thrive helps our entire business community, our families, and of course our children. As a working parent who didn't live close to immediate family, I know how critical high-quality childcare was for my family and our careers when my children were young. And as a business owner, I also see how reliable childcare reduces absenteeism, improves my employees' engagement, and empowers all of our parents, but especially our working moms, to expand their skills and their earnings opportunities. So now is my pleasure to turn it over to Jim Holcomb, President and CEO of the Michigan Chamber. Thanks, Jim.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. Jen, thank you for your leadership on this important issue. Certainly your practical and realistic activity within the child care space brings a lot of credibility to this conversation. Thank you to the U.S. Chamber Foundation, UCIC, and especially the Grand Rapids Chamber for their partnership in this, and also to the Grand Rapids Chamber for hosting us here today. Now, child care has been an important issue in workforce development for many years. Obviously, well before COVID-19, we were experiencing problems with child care coverage across the state. And we had industry turnover approximately 30%, and the COVID pandemic only exacerbated that problem. Approximately 16,000 child care centers across 37 states closed their doors during COVID-19. The findings you're going to hear about today clearly denote the need for Michigan policymakers to become creative in addressing the child care dilemma and to come forward with realistic solutions that work for employers and employees. Michigan cannot have a strong workforce without accessibility and affordability in child care. Our employers have come to the table to help move that needle, and it's the cooperation of the groups you see here today that are going to be so important in finding the solutions we need. We want to ensure that employees can bring their best work each and every day. We don't want them wondering who is going to be caring for their child and will they receive quality care. The Michigan Chamber, along with all of our partners, are going to focus on practical solutions that strengthen the child care industry for providers and their clients. We want to fix the problem. We don't want to come forward with Band-Aid solutions. We can't pick winners and losers, because especially when talking about childcare, there should never be a loser. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, and I now have the privilege and honor to welcome Don Bell, CEO of ECIC, to discuss their role in this report and what childcare means to them. Good afternoon, everyone. The Early Childhood Investment Corporation is your statewide partner on all things early childhood, and our vision is simple and powerful. All young children and their families in Michigan thrive. We're so thankful to the Michigan Chamber, the Grand Rapids Chamber, and the U.S. Chamber for the opportunity to collaborate on this critical report that really brings to light some sobering, scary numbers. But I'm going to start with a couple of additional numbers you won't find in the report. The first number is 250. That's the number of phone calls that ECIC has logged in the past 2 weeks. And about 50% of those calls are from child care programs across Michigan who are calling very, very worried about inability to fill their own workforce shortage or just talked to a provider this morning who's contemplating having to close a classroom because they can't recruit and retain top talent to work as brain builders with young children in Michigan. And so this report really talks about how acute that problem is and how it's affecting working families when classrooms close. And then 50% of the calls are, of course, parents and working families calling, struggling to find childcare that meets their needs, struggling to find infant and toddler care in particular. I talked to a mom just last week, an expectant mom, who's getting on a wait list right after she found out she's expecting because many families are waiting up to 14 months to find an opening in their community. Our goal at ECIC is that every family who wants and needs childcare will find care that's appropriate for their needs within 5 miles of mom or dad's work or home. And this report, I think, emphasizes how that should be our goal and that we'll need multifaceted solutions to get there. In 2021, ECIC with partners across the state launched the Child Care Innovation Fund, which is now an $18 million public-private initiative. Over 50 innovations happening in 81 counties across Michigan, including some here in Kent County. And what we're doing with the Innovation Fund connects to what the Untapped Potential Report is highlighting, that we want scalable childcare solutions that get at the heart of the complexity of this issue. We need care that families can afford and that enough supply in communities where families are working, and we need adequate competitive wages for the early care and education workforce so that we can build a pipeline of brain builders for that critical career. We're proud to partner with the chambers on this report and look forward to activating the solutions therein. Thank you. All right, to kick off the findings of the report that we'll be talking about today, I'd like to introduce Senior Policy Advisor and partner with the U.S. Chamber Foundation, Ms. Hatt.
Thanks. I'm going to just talk a little bit about the role that the U.S. Chamber Foundation has in this conversation. We've heard already that this is a business issue, right? And we really started to dig in on this issue ourselves in 2017 to report Workforce of Today, Workforce of Tomorrow. It is a little bit self-explanatory, but the way that we see things, right, the workforce of today, what they need from childcare is to be able to participate in the workforce, to be able to have stability within their jobs, right? It's not particularly productive if you have to call out because your kid is sick or call out because you can't find stable child care. Right? So for the workforce of today, it's about participation, stability, and productivity. And as Dawn just mentioned, the workforce of tomorrow as well, right? We know so much about early childhood brain development and the importance especially of those first 5 years. And so having access to affordable and high quality childcare, right, that really is the critical first step of building an excellent workforce. And at the Chamber, I think we really believe that a world-class education is key to a world-class workforce. So we also know that childcare enables about 14 million working parents of young children in that pre-kindergarten 0 to 5 age group to go to work. And we know that, again, when there isn't that stability of childcare, productivity suffers. It can also lead to turnover or the inability to advance in a career. And so there are just really a conflation of a lot of different challenges that make this so critically important to business and to the Chamber Foundation. So to dig in a little bit deeper, just before the pandemic in February of 2020, we released the first cohort of Untapped potential reports. And the purpose of these reports is to examine what the economic impact is of breakdowns in childcare. We know that this is costly, but I think we wanted to put some real data behind it. And interestingly, in each of these reports, we saw that about 30 to 40% of respondents said that someone in their household has either left a job, declined a promotion, or decided not to be in the workforce because specifically of breakdowns in childcare within the last 12 months. And these challenges are even more acute in that 0 to 2 phase of child rearing. So obviously we have had 2 full cohorts and we're on our 3rd right now. Due to the pandemic, we have really only seen that things have gotten worse. And I'm excited in a moment to hand it back over to Marcus and Leah to really drill down on the findings from Michigan. Just one more. So it's a problem. We know that. We're showing that through our reports. It's also really important to be solution oriented, right? We've already heard flexibility and creativity. This employer roadmap that the Chamber Foundation put out actually identifies a number of different ways that employers can be part of the solution. So we have some kind of quick wins, right? Those might be the easiest lifts, things like backup childcare, flexible scheduling, so that for shift workers in particular, they have consistent schedules so that they can consistently manage their care, things like that. In this kind of internal investments is where I actually put backup care, which is really helpful, like when there's a breakdown in your child care and you're able to quickly get someone to cover watching your children so that you can continue to go to work. Also, subsidies, vouchers. Some employers decide to do on-site child care or support child care programs nearby their work sites. And then community investments, which are maybe a longer, more in-depth way to really start to get at the core of the local child care challenges and even to leverage business voices in support of more systemic solutions. I'll just say that I think, from the foundation's perspective, the keys are to be flexible, creative. We don't see this as a one-size-fits-all solution, right? Parents also need to be at the table because choosing where you want to send your young child is very personal, right? So not every setting is going to work for every family. And then I just want to stress again the importance of having access, affordability, and quality so that we can really support that workforce of today and of tomorrow.
Thank you, Kuna, for teeing us up perfectly there. Again, my name is Leah Robinson, and I'm Director of Legislative Affairs and Leadership Programming for the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, and I'm joined by Marcus Keach, who is the Director of Government Affairs for the Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce, and we're going to discuss the findings from the Untapped Potential Report. This report was conducted by the U.S. Chamber Foundation in partnership with Cicero and surveyed 501 Michigan families across the state with children under the age of 6. Full respondent characteristics can be found on page 45 of the report. As mentioned, and as a reminder of the beginning of today's event, the purpose behind this report was to identify the needs of Michigan's working families and understand how gaps in Michigan's child care has impacted the state's economy and our businesses. Our top line finding is that breakdowns in Michigan's child care are costing the state $2.88 billion annually in untapped economic potential. This cost can be broken down into direct employer costs and direct tax revenue loss. Employee turnover is costing employers $1.04 billion annually, and absentee losses are costing employers $1.26 billion annually. for a total cost of $2.3 billion. The current rate of employee turnover means that the state is losing out on $460 million in state tax revenue, and for absenteeism, the state is losing $116 million annually for a total of $576 million of direct tax revenue loss.
Other additional top-line findings in this report, of those surveyed, 14% of parents have left their job in the past 6 months due to child care issues, as well as a 2020 study by the Michigan League for Public Policy finding that out of the approximately 560,000 Michigan children under 6 years of age, there's only enough licensed child care capacity to meet the needs of about 31% of those children.
When our report looked at parents' needs and the gaps within Michigan's child care, we found that 71% of parents pay for child care for children younger than 6, and 58% of families pay for child care out of their personal budget, with an average of $672 a month on child care. Most of those surveyed use at least one governmental assistance program to help pay for child care. The highest of those programs being at 60%, and families would be using the child tax credit, 60% child tax credit. Cost and affordability were the primary reason and the choice for a provider at 66%. The second leading decider was personal preference, followed by proximity to home, work, and school. The most important or useful benefit for working parents proved to be flexible and remote working hours. However, as we all know, Michigan has an above average healthcare and manufacturing workforce where remote work isn't necessarily an option for a majority of our workforce, and low income earners are more likely to have to commute to work.
Additional other findings include 75% of low and middle income parents have experienced employment change due to child care issues over the course of their employment experiences. And then also low and middle income parents planning, 47% planning on leaving employment over the next 12 months. Definitely very alarming that of those surveyed, this is a significant portion of our low and middle income workers in the Michigan economy. When factoring in all income levels and all genders involved, it's a total of 18% of all parents planning on leaving the employment in those next 12 months.
The numbers on the screen right now represent a 2019 study conducted by the National Survey of Children's Health, in which they asked participants if they or a family member had to voluntarily leave, not take a job, or greatly change a job because of child care issues within the past 12 months. As you can see, the national average was 9.4% in 2019, and Michigan's average was 14.4%. The Untapped Potential Report has estimated that in 2020, this number has jumped to 31.9%, and national averages have climbed similarly. Much of this is likely due to the impact in which the global pandemic has had on our workforce, but it certainly begs the question, what are we as a state going to do to implement or change and ensure that percentage does not continue to grow in the coming years? So I'm going to let Marcus talk about the Michigan Child Care Coalition and what we are doing to solve this issue.
Thank you, Leah. In close partnership with the Michigan Chamber, the executive branch, the legislative branch, business organizations, children advocates, child care providers, and others, the Grand Rapids Chamber-led Michigan Child Care Coalition brings all members to the table to address the barriers of child care that impact businesses, families, and the providers themselves. This coalition takes a deep dive into issues such as affordability and accessibility of child care for families, the shrinking talent pool for employers due to limited child care opportunities, and the challenges of our providers to operate a profitable business while also focusing on the care and education of our children. In a couple of minutes, we will hear from one of those providers on some of those challenges. As a coalition, we are tasked with the responsibility to use the information in this report to create an environment for providers to succeed that will directly relate to addressing accessibility and the increased talent pool for businesses throughout Michigan. Michigan TriShare is a first-in-the-nation program that brings together employers, employees, and the government to each contribute their share of child care costs for workers of partnering employers by working through a regional hub that can connect all involved to address the affordability and accessibility in a more holistic approach. For more information on Michigan TriShare program, you can visit michigan.gov/TriShare. We are excited to hear today from one of our incredible employers enrolled in TriShare, as well as one of our local hubs here in Kent County. While the Coalition is proud of the accomplishments already achieved, the work is far from over. The Coalition has identified next steps in our efforts that will directly address the concerns brought forth in the Untapped Potential Report. The first of four is to promote the expansion of the Michigan TriShare program to be implemented statewide and to expand the program to a larger economic pool of workers. By providing workers this additional benefit, we can directly see the result of worker retention and recruitment, and ideally significantly reduce the amount of families expecting to leave the workforce in the coming months. Priority 2 is to support our child care providers with opportunities to expand both with services offered throughout the day as well as in capacity. This support can come in many forms, including identifying funding sources to help providers with the costs associated with expansion. Priority 3 is to identify innovative ways to increase wages for workers within the child care industry. Recently, the Grand Rapids Chamber hosted members of the Governor's Cabinet and other leaders to discuss high-wage, high-demand jobs across the state. One omission from that list was the child care industry. Not because of the demand of skilled workforce, but because of the wages associated. We must find ways to promote individuals to join the child care workforce while also making sure that they are paid a livable wage without putting the overwhelming burden on our child care provider businesses that at times struggle with profitability. By increasing the workforce and the expansion of services, we can combat barriers to accessibility throughout our state, specifically within our vast child care deserts. And the final priority is to utilize the creation of a new state department, the Michigan Department of Lifelong Education, Advancement, and Potential, or MILE. This will pivot all aspects of the child care industry under one department, and it is key that we as a coalition create the relationships necessary to make sure that the opportunity to address parts where Michigan has missed the mark in terms of child care is not repeated. This coalition continues to work to create great policy with our business community, providers, families, and most importantly, our children in mind. At this time, I would like to invite Jessica White-Hedinger, Director of Operations for Big Steps Little Feet Christian Child Care Center and Preschool, to come forward. Big Steps Little Feet is located in Ada and provides programming for children ages 6 weeks through 10 years. Thank you for being with us today.
Well, good afternoon. It is an honor to be here. The Chamber has done an incredible job of including the child care perspective and the child care voice in this conversation, so we are thankful for that. My name is Jessica White-Hedinger, and I get to work at Big Steps Little Feet Christian Child Care and Preschool. And the name Big Steps Little Feet was very intentionally planned almost 30 years ago by Rob and Annette Young, the owners. I worked there for about 5 years, and prior to that I spent a decade in workforce development. And it only took me a few weeks to understand that I had never left workforce development. There are child care providers in our region and throughout our state who every day help children take big steps with their little feet. Child care providers help a child develop their character. They lay the foundation for academic success, and they help children understand the world and how we all fit in it. But as we've heard today, staffing this industry is a challenge. It is a job on top of a job. And if we can work together as a community and with our chambers to understand and help our community understand that at the end of the day, it is so much more than just play. We can turn this around and help even more children be on their path to success for their future. So thank you so much for the data in this report. It speaks for itself. And child care providers across our state are ready and willing to do this work. So thank you so much. Thank you, Jessica. I'd now like to welcome Emily Babson, Director of Human Resources of the Class Board, to discuss their involvement in the child care space.
Good afternoon, thank you for having me. As stated, I'm Emily Babson, and I have the privilege of being the Human Resources Director at Class Board. But more importantly, I'm also the working mom of 2 amazing kiddos who knows all too well about finding the balance between affordable, quality, and safe childcare. choosing to put my own career on hold for a few years and temporarily leave the workforce after having my first, for many of the reasons that you heard earlier today. It should come as no surprise that the need for top talent is one of the biggest concerns for Michigan's employers. Within the last couple of years, the need has only been elevated by employees leaving the workforce due to the inability to find affordable childcare. With spaces low and the cost continuing to rise, sometimes it just doesn't make sense for a parent to work. That's why we were so excited and jumped at the opportunity to join the TriShare program pilot in 2021. At Plascor, we have always been family-oriented and a family-first company. This type of support for our staff is in our company's DNA, and we're so grateful that the support from the government programs to help bring this type of thing to reality for our team members. Since offering the TriShare program at Plascor, we have been able to recruit parents that most likely would have not been able to re-enter the workforce due to childcare reasons, but we've also been able to retain employees who have came to us after having another child or potentially a change in childcare provider. They were about to hand in their resignations. We were able to support them with this program and find another alternative. This program has been a tremendous success at Plascor in regards to our recruitment and retention efforts. But more importantly, it's shown our employees that we value them as people. We care for them and support the things that matter to them, such as safe childcare. We would not be able to meet the needs of our customers, our community, if we didn't have the TriShare program and other similar programs that help remove barriers for entry for a much needed workforce. Parents should not have to sacrifice quality for affordability, and with the help of the TriShare program, it is not a decision that a Plascor employee will ever have to make, and for that, we are extremely grateful.
As we're here in Kent County at the beautiful Grand Rapids Chamber, we want to highlight what's going on right here. So to close out the event and before our Q&A portion, please welcome Shauna Edmund Burley, CEO of Vibrant Futures.
Thank you so much. This is really pretty powerful that you're raising up the issue of economic impact on childcare in this crisis. It is real, it is profound, and it is sizable, and it's an opportunity. A $5.9 billion opportunity for us to be successful for working families in this area. And so thank you for amplifying and quantifying the issue. I have been a working mom, and I have grandchildren, or one grandchild, and he's 20 months. I hear every weekend when we're eating with our family how much childcare is costing my son and his wife. Over $1,300 a month. That's pretty significant. And so I'm privileged to lead an organization like Vibrant Futures that's bringing innovation to the marketplace, and that's connecting policies like the TriShare policies, like the family child care legislation that just moved forward, to everyday folks in both practice and in place. When I was reading the report and I saw the 32% of folks who were leaving, and I think you just said 47%, both low and middle income, what brought to mind was Melissa at Wolverine Coil and Spring, who was sitting in her job, doing an incredible job on second shift, and she was contemplating leaving the workforce. And these are the kind of stories that we see all the time. And she happened to actually talk to her boss, and her boss said, wait a minute, I heard about this thing called TriShare. And Marcus knows because he wrote the legislation back in the day. And so they called us immediately, and they got on to TriShare. As Vibrant Futures is the TriShare hub, coordinating, connecting, finding employers that want to, targeting employers that want to participate, taking the calls of families who are saying, can you talk to my employer? So it's pretty powerful. And then I'm reminded of Hope. She works at Catherine's Health Care Center. And she was contemplating leaving the workforce as well. And so you're seeing in the workforce many, many people that you may not even know that are silently, quietly contemplating leaving the workplace because of childcare. And oh, by the way, what we're also seeing are grandmothers and a few grandfathers who are saying, you know what? I'm gonna step out for a few hours, or I'm gonna step out for a shorter work week, or I'm gonna step out totally. Yeah, we have that happening in our organization right now. And so this issue is real, and it is profound. Vibrant Futures has been around for 50 years. Our business is childcare. We've been working with about 500 childcare homes, group homes. We support the centers. We do that locally and regionally across 30 counties. Certainly Kent County is our major one, and we're at the intersection of innovation, collaboration, and compassion, working with childcare in the innovative space, doing the regional planning with 5 other counties who have identified the #1 issue in childcare as the root cause is affordability. And so we've got to tackle that issue. And they've also identified workforce challenges and so forth, and certainly wages. And so we're working with workforce development at Jessica's old place, and that is working on the talent pipeline. And lastly, Vibrant Futures is the largest non-governmental nonprofit that is distributing dollars to help balance that business model with childcare professionals. The good news and the reality is that the future of work is inextricably tied to the future of childcare. And the good news in our village care surveys that's coming out in about 6 weeks is that what we're finding is that families are saying, if my employer provides something like this, and we give them a list of things, then they actually will be loyal and stay. And that's what we all want with all these labor participation rates lowering. So this is good, great work. The report is powerful, and we're excited about moving ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Shauna, for those powerful stories, and I know we're running up on time right now, so I'm going to welcome Marcus and Kuna back to the podium for just a really brief Q&A. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to address? Yes.
Wondering if you can share some specifics on some of the changes that the coalition is advocating for, such as including how to increase wages for childcare workers without increasing costs for families. Any ideas on that? And then also expanding TriShare. I just want to confirm, last I knew it was in 59 counties. Is that still the current tally? And what are you hoping to get that up to?
So to answer the second part of the question first, so yes, that's where we currently are with TriShare. The intention would be in the foreseeable next few years, potentially 5 years, to be statewide and expanding out some additional implementation within TriShare to be able to expand beyond just the current economic status. Qualifications would be to allow employers to contribute to all employees if they choose to do so. While the employees might not qualify per se for the state funding portion, to still have that employer portion to be contributed to. Regarding the next steps with the coalition did identify that these are our top priorities to focus on next. It's still in work group, so I can't speak on specifically what those ideas would be, as we're still kind of starting that process. But it is with the 100% intention that it isn't going to be expected to be increased wages based on increasing the rates of the families. That's something that we completely want to avoid, because right now we already hear it isn't affordable for a lot of families, and so it wouldn't fix or address any of the concerns if we just pass those costs on to the individual families. So how can we utilize other funding mechanisms, potentially state and federally, to help facilitate those costs and those wages?
would employer contributions, again, like the tri-share model, be part of that potentially?
It's hard to say at this point what that actually looks like in terms of the tri-share cost. Part of the agreements that, that providers have when they go into receiving children through the tri-share program is they cannot raise their wages or raise their rates for just those families that are in tri-share because of that additional resources. So there is some nuance behind that that you have to take into consideration as well.
Okay, and right now tri-share is for Alice families, correct?
It is, there is a population for those that don't qualify for the federal subsidy, up into 325% of federal poverty level would be the ones that currently qualify for tri-share.
Can I ask, who do you hope hears this announcement today and reads this report?
Can you repeat that question, please?
Who do you hope, what is your audience today? Is it parents, families, businesses? Who do you hope this resonates with and looks through these numbers?
Yeah, we hope this holistically everybody. The business community needs to understand that there is significant money left on the table in the business community for not investing in childcare for their employees, but also we have governmental agencies that are debating how to invest state resources and we can invest just a portion of the money that we can recapture in childcare work, in the expansion of tri-share and other programs to recapture that billions of dollars on the table. It doesn't cost that much investment to recapture that.
We have a couple, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna answer really quick a question from the live stream before we close out today's event. The question was, what are the legislative solutions for childcare? And that's exactly what this coalition is looking at. We're looking at legislative solutions and partnerships, whether that be with leading childcare groups or other business organizations or community colleges, universities. We are looking to do that with our sub-work groups within our childcare coalition. So any legislative updates in the future will be announced to the coalition. And I'll let Marcus close out today's event. Thank you.
So we just want to, on behalf of the Grand Rapids Chamber, thank the Michigan Chamber, the U.S. Chamber Foundation, ECIC for being partners in this process and this report, but as well as Cicero as the organization that put this report together through the four associations. Big Sense Little Feet for being here, Glass Score, and Vibrant Futures for also speaking today's event. So thank you all for attending, and then we'll be available afterwards for any questions as well.